Beneath 4 million square kilometers of ocean lies a secret, a continent lost to time. For over 85 million years, it has remained hidden, its story buried under waves. This is Zealandia, Earth's 8th continent, and today we rise to uncover it. There are 7 continents on our planet, or maybe 6 if you combine Europe and Asia into Eurasia. But what if I told you there was a secret 8th continent hiding beneath the waves? It's not an April Fool's joke. And even though it was once home to ancient animals and plants, you can't even see this continent because it sank beneath the ocean millions of years ago. How did it happen? What secrets does it hold? And what would the world look like if this sunken land had been preserved? Today we'll be taking a deep dive into one of the most fascinating areas of our planet and learning about the continent that sank. If you're new here, welcome to my channel, where we bring you the craziest and weirdest facts from human history and the natural world. Some of the things we'll talk about today might be disturbing or offensive. Viewer discretion is advised. The first thing you need to know about our missing continent is that it isn't technically missing. There's nothing stopping you from traveling to this sunken region right now, except that it's underwater. If you're a skilled scuba diver, you could go down as far as you're allowed to without a special permit. You can descend around 40 meters where you'll find shipwrecks and perhaps some other human-made objects. But at 40 meters down, you won't be able to see any signs of Zealandia. It's all just rock and ocean floor. You'd have to take a specially equipped submarine thousands of meters down to explore the secrets of this sunken land. But when you finally reach the bottom, what would you see? First, you wouldn't see much life. Sunlight doesn't penetrate the water at such depths, and no light means no photosynthesis. Without photosynthesis, you won't find plants, and without plants, you won't find animals that eat them. You'd be lucky to see a strange fish or a crustacean scuttle across the seafloor. But there is one thing you'd definitely see. Zealandia itself is quite small, with an area of just 4.9 million square kilometers, which makes it smaller than Brazil and larger than the UK. Much of the continent consists of rugged mountains and highlands, although there are also large, mostly flat areas. In fact, it looks a lot like New Zealand, but it's just a fraction of the size. Why? Because Zealandia was once part of New Zealand, and the two regions were connected by a narrow strip of land. But over millions of years, tectonic plates shifted, and the connection between Zealandia and New Zealand snapped. It's a process that happens all the time, but it normally takes tens of millions of years. And in that time, we humans don't notice. It's different when it comes to Zealandia. Not only was it once part of New Zealand, it was also part of Gondwana, the supercontinent that once housed Antarctica, South America, Africa, Australia, and India. So how old is this drowned piece of land? Well, the rocks on the surface are about 180 million years old, but scientists estimate the continent itself is between 260 and 340 million years old. And if it's been around for hundreds of millions of years, why do we only know about it now? Until the late 19th century, no one knew about Zealandia because the area was covered by the Pacific Ocean, and its position was unknown. It wasn't until 1840 that Sir James Clark Ross discovered the deep ocean trench that runs through it. And it took another 100 years before scientists realized there must be land beneath the water. They named it Zealandia after the Greek word for sun, helios, and the Greek word for rising, ana, hence Heliosana, which sounds a lot like Zealandia. The theory that Zealandia was once above sea level was proposed in 1913 by American geologist Bailey Willis. His idea was that the continent was originally a part of the huge Rocky Mountain chain that stretches from Canada all the way to Mexico. Over millions of years, the eastern edge of the range broke off and sank below sea level. Scientists are still unsure whether Willis was correct, but they agree there was definitely dry land in the area millions of years ago. In the late Cretaceous period, around 70 million years ago, Zealandia was home to around 200 species of dinosaurs. Unfortunately, they did not survive the mass extinction event that wiped out all dinosaurs, except birds 66 million years ago. But there were plenty of other animals and plants living on Zealandia at the time, many of which evolved into unique species due to their isolation. After all, Zealandia was separated from Australia, its closest relative, around 85 million years ago, and it had been cut off from other land masses for hundreds of millions of years. Among the animals living on Zealandia during the Cretaceous period were turtles, fish, birds, mammals, and lizards. It was also home to more unusual creatures like mosasaurs, marine reptiles that were around 15 meters long and fed on fish and other marine animals. In fact, fossils of a mosasaur were found on Zealandia in 1984. The discovery provided evidence that Zealandia had been above sea level during the Cretaceous period and supported the theory that the continent had sunk. But if Zealandia was home to so much life, why is there no sign of it on the surface? What happened to the fossils? To understand how Zealandia went from being a place full of life to a submerged continent, we need to talk about the ocean again. The ocean water that surrounds Zealandia today is around 3,000 meters deep, which is almost twice the height of Mount Everest. But there's even deeper water nearby. In the Tonga Kermadec Trench, the ocean reaches a depth of almost 7,000 meters. So how did Zealandia sink? One scientist's theory is that the continental crust simply cracked as the Pacific plate moved eastward, allowing it to slowly slip beneath the Australian plate. Another theory is that hot spots caused the land to melt from below, leading to massive landslides that eventually caused the entire continent to collapse into the ocean. Whatever happened, it must have been sudden, because in an instant, Zealandia went from being dry land to being underwater. But how did it go from dry land to becoming the seabed? The answer is erosion. The powerful currents and sediment have eroded away most traces of Zealandia. It may have once been home to dinosaurs and other creatures, but millions of years of erosion have erased almost all evidence of its existence. Even the tallest peaks of the continent are now deeply submerged. Today, Zealandia is a largely featureless plain with a few underwater mountains. The absence of features is partly due to erosion, but it's also because Zealandia is largely made of basalt. Basalt is a dark-colored volcanic rock that's smooth and featureless, unlike the sedimentary rocks you'd find on New Zealand. But it's also possible that the continent was literally smoothed over by the force of water over millions of years. So what would Zealandia look like today if it hadn't sunk? Well, thanks to modern technology, we have a good idea. All we need to do is remove the water and reveal the dry land underneath. But as you can imagine, this is easier said than done. It would require a tremendous amount of work to remove all the water and reveal the continent beneath. First, we'd have to get rid of the creatures living in the water. These include whales, dolphins, sharks, squid, fish, crabs, coral, sponges, and anemones. We'd also have to destroy their habitat and remove kelp forests, seagrass meadows, and mangroves. Once we cleared out the animals and plants, we could start draining the water itself. But as the water drained away, we'd have to deal with enormous lakes. Over millions of years, sediment and other matter have built up on the ocean floor, forming lakes that are sometimes hundreds of meters deep. We'd have to pump the water from these lakes into the ocean and get rid of it. Only then could we start to see the true nature of Zealandia. As the water receded, we'd begin to see the rocky terrain of the continent. We'd see rugged mountains, deep valleys, and extensive plateaus. And as we removed more and more water, we'd come across more geological features like caves, cliffs, and arches. Eventually, we'd be able to see the full extent of Zealandia, the continent that sank. We'd see a landmass that looks strangely familiar, yet is different from the surrounding countries. We'd see a place where kangaroos and koalas might live alongside dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals. we'd be able to witness a unique ecosystem that evolved in isolation and survived for millions of years. But unfortunately, it would come at a cost. To uncover Zealandia, we'd have to kill countless animals and destroy their habitats. We'd also be changing the course of history because the continent that sank remains hidden for a reason. Its position underwater protected its inhabitants from predators and gave them the chance to evolve without interference. So while it would be amazing to see what Zealandia looks like today, it's probably best that we leave it alone. As it is, we only know about Zealandia because scientists were curious enough to investigate. Who knows what secrets this mysterious continent holds? Perhaps there are undiscovered species living in its murky depths or traces of dinosaurs and other prehistoric creatures. Maybe one day we'll find evidence of life on Zealandia, or maybe it's better that we never do. What do you think? Should we try to uncover Zealandia and see what's below, or leave it alone? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for watching.